Hello. Now in this section, we're going to learn how to insert graphics into Excel worksheets. And what I mean by graphics, I mean images, pictures, also shapes and arrows and things like that. A lot of times you'll have a table like this and then you'd like to call someone's attention to a particular part of the sheet. And so we'll learn how to do that. The first thing I want to do, and it's kind of fun actually, if you want to insert any of these things, you go off to the Insert tab. We've been here before many times. We have inserting tables and inserting charts. In between them, we have inserting pictures. So let's go ahead and click that. You can navigate to whatever directory you want. I'm going to insert this image, which is an image of me doing a science experiment. And it's a very large image, so it's good to illustrate that you can grab the corners and you can drag and resize the location of this thing. And Excel is smart enough to make it look really nice. And by the way, this is an image of a bubble filled with carbon dioxide, dry ice gas, basically. And it's a little science experiment that I've done. But you could be inserting, anything from images of yourself to a logo, like a company logo or whatever. So let's say, for whatever reason, I want to put this at the top above this table. So I want to move this table down. I'll go ahead and highlight everything there. I'll right-click and I'll hit Insert, which is inserting rows. So the table is bumped down, and now I have plenty of room. Well, maybe not quite plenty of room, but I can make this a little bit smaller. And I can put it, up here. This could, again, be a company logo, could be a tagline, could be an image of yourself, whatever. You have complete control over where these things go in Excel. Now that's how to insert images, but frequently we want to insert shapes for one reason or another. And so over here to the right of the image there, I'll go to the Insert tab. And again, here's pictures. Here's if you're going to search for pictures online. But here is what we call inserting shapes. So let me click this drop down and you have a entire potpourri of things that you can choose, from hearts to smiley faces to different kinds of block arrows, flowchart shapes. You could draw your own flowchart here. There's basically infinite amount of things you can choose. Here I'm going to choose a rounded rectangle just to kind of illustrate it for you. And once I've done that, my cursor changes to a cross. And so once you start clicking and dragging, then this rounded rectangle comes to life with a default color, which is again selected up here. And I've got a blue color. Now notice that once this shape is created and selected, I've got on the ribbon menu, Drawing Tools Format tab. This is only visible when the shape is selected. If you click off of it, it disappears. It's just like the table. When I click on the table, I have Design Tools for the table. When I click on the picture, I have Format Tools for the picture. When I click on the rectangle, I have Drawing Tools that relate to this rectangle. So if I click on that tab, there are many, many things that I can do right away. The easiest thing to show you is that I can change the fill color of this rectangle just by clicking. So let's say I want to do, something like that. I can change the outline color to be, a different color. If I want the outline color to be, black, for instance, I can do something like that. I can do other things like I can make it look beveled. I can make it have a little bit of a shadow. So you can go in there and just play around with making it look exactly like you want. And if you don't want to fiddle around with any of those things, just click on this button right here and you have kind of a predefined set of nice looking shapes. So I like this blue one here. So I'm going to click that. It's a nice gradient, a little bit. You can see it's got a little bit of a shadow there. I like to stick with the standard ones here, but you can certainly go off and play around with exactly making it look exactly the way you'd like. So now that we have our rectangle created, if we click to select it, we can just begin typing right now. We can say 2013 quarterly, or let's say annual results. So I could make this rectangle basically a title box if I'd like. Instead of just putting it in a cell, which would serve its purpose, I can jazz it up a little bit and make it look like this. Now this text in here, I can select and highlight just like any other text. I can go to the home menu. I can make this text bold. I can change the font. I can actually move it to the center. I can move it and align it vertically like this. And if I really want to make it stand out, maybe I want to use, instead of black, maybe I want to use white text, because white text will show up really nicely on a blue background. So this is a very quick way to create a title bar that is just a little bit more catchy than just typing it into a cell like that. So this is just one shape, don't forget. This is a rounded rectangle. Let me go down here and let's go into Insert Shape again. And notice all the other things that we want to do. Let's say here is an oval, but if you just draw an oval and just drag it, you notice how you can make it fat or skinny like this. What if you want a perfect circle? If you want a perfect circle, go back to Insert, go back to Shapes, go back to Circle. What you need to do is hold the Shift key down. I'm holding the Shift key down while I drag. Now notice now as I move my mouse around with the Shift key held, it kind of constrains the proportion so it looks like a circle. If I go up here and insert a shape and I choose that rounded rectangle again, and now I hold Shift while I do it, then it becomes a square. You see, so I'm forcing the proportions to basically make it into a perfect shape. So just don't forget that as you insert these shapes, you have triangles and rectangles and circles, but you can also make them look like squares and ovals, and you can make this diamond, for instance, you can make it long and skinny, or you can make it short and fat and so on just by doing something like that. Also, we have things like arrows. We can draw arrows right on the sheet. So for instance, what if I want to draw someone's attention to this entry right here? I can drag the end of the arrow. I can drag the head of the arrow like that. I can go in here to change the color under Shape Outline. I can go and change it to black, for instance. And then, if I wanted to, I could go to Insert Shape. I can do a regular hard rectangle, and I can hold the Shift key and kind of make this into a square, and I can type in here, and I'll just say, look at the money we lost, or something like that. And then I can take this head of this arrow and kind of connect it. So you can kind of, just play around with Excel, creating little boxes and little shapes, and you can kind of do as many things as you want. But the problem is you got to rein yourself in, because if you put too many shapes and too many arrows, you can have arrows pointing everywhere, and then the worksheet becomes completely unreadable. So in order to get rid of things, just highlight them and delete them, or you can simply do something like this. You can delete the text first, or you can click on the entire thing, delete it, click on the arrow, and delete it like that. Okay, now up till now we've talked about inserting pictures, we've talked about inserting graphics, and just kind of shapes, basic shapes. But there's one other thing that I want you to make sure you understand. If you click on Insert, right under Insert Shape, there is Insert SmartArt Graphic. Insert SmartArt Graphic. When you click that, you see a whole entire subset of things that you can create. You've got different lists that you can create, almost like bulleted lists that look really nice and beautiful. Process flow charts. If you're a scientist, engineer, somebody dealing with process flows, you can create entire beautiful graphics that deal with this. Hierarchy is something very common. Also, you might have, for instance, a org chart or something like that with the president, CEO. So if you wanted to click something like that and then go ahead and hit OK, then you would see this graphic here. Now let me go and zoom out of the spreadsheet just a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And then I can take this whole graphic and kind of move it down here. And you can see, you can either type in here or you can type in here. But basically, of course, Jason's going to be at the top of the list. You can have Alexander. And as you type, it's going to go in here. And I could have, under here, I could have CEO. And I could have Alexander being, vice president, etc. So you see the point there. I can go in there and create these smart chart graphics where I can go in there and add crazy things. Now, as I highlight them, I have Smart Tools, I have a Design, and I have a Format tab up here. I'll leave it to you to play with this stuff. You can change the font colors and the background fills. All of the stuff starts to look very similar in Excel because they're using the same interface for all of these different features. I can change the type. I can put a picture in here, Jason's picture and Alexander's picture, and so on. And if I click this down arrow here, then I have lots of different other types of these types of org charts that I can create that would just make them look all a little bit different. So that's how you insert the smart graphics. It's something that some people use. It definitely can jazz up your spreadsheet, make it look nice, but you just have to be careful because there is such a thing as overdoing it. If you add too many things to your worksheet, you can just make it confusing and cluttered. But I do encourage you to go play with them because it has some pretty neat capabilities there. The most common thing you're going to do here is drop a picture in, drop a shape in, drop an arrow in. Everything else is just kind of going to depend on your situation, what you're really trying to go for in your worksheet.